There is something mysterious about the way seeds grow. A seed, by all appearances, must be buried, shoved deep into the dark soil, hidden away, seemingly forgotten. To the untrained eye, it looks like the end of the seed's story, but it is, in truth, the beginning. It's not a burial, it's a planting. The difference lies in what comes next. Many times in life, we mistake the weight of our trials for a grave. When people abandon us, when relationships fail, when we are betrayed, mocked, underestimated, or overlooked, it can feel like we've been buried, like something inside of us has died. We're left in the dark, stripped of comfort, and disconnected from what once gave us joy. But what if that darkness is not our grave, but our womb? What if this hidden season is where God begins to do His greatest work? You see, people may have thrown dirt on your name. They may have tried to silence your voice. They may have pushed you so far into obscurity that even your own confidence forgot where to find you, and still they smiled. They believed they had won, but they misunderstood the nature of God. They didn't know that when God allows someone to be pushed into darkness, it is never without divine purpose. Where others saw the end, God saw potential. They tried to bury you, but God was planting you. In the quiet of your pain, in the loneliness that echoed with your unanswered prayers, God was at work. When you were invisible to man, you were visible to heaven. When you were weak, God was preparing His strength to rest upon you. When you lost everything, God began to rewire your identity, not to restore what was, but to prepare you for something you never imagined. Let me ask you, could it be that your hiddenness was protection? Could it be that the ones who rejected you were divinely used to make room for a greater calling? Could it be that what you perceived as abandonment was heaven's redirection? If God had not hidden Joseph in a pit and a prison, he would never have reached Pharaoh's palace. If David hadn't been forgotten in the field, he would not have been found for the throne. If Jesus hadn't been crucified and placed in a tomb, there would be no resurrection story. So when the world pushes you down, when others write you off, do not grieve as though you are lost. Do not see your sorrow as a signal of death. God is not done. You are being planted. You are being pressed beneath the surface, so you can grow in places they never expected to see you bloom. Your roots are growing deep before your glory rises high. And when you rise, because you will rise stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before. There is a holy silence in the soil. In that quiet, God speaks. In that hidden place, God forms the unseen parts of your purpose. You don't need to defend yourself to those who walked away. You don't need to shout from the rooftops to prove your worth, because God is not only the planter, He is also the gardener. He tends to what He plants, and when it is time, He brings forth fruit that no man can deny. So don't curse the soil that surrounds you. Embrace the dark season, for it is sacred. That place of despair may be the very ground of your destiny. The hands that tried to bury you didn't know they were pushing you into a divine setup. They thought they were silencing you, but they were setting the stage for your testimony. They thought they were breaking you, but God is building you. Now let us walk through the 7 signs that prove you're not being buried. You're being planted. There's something deeply unsettling about being overlooked. It makes you question your worth, your voice, your identity. You feel tucked away in silence, unseen by the world, unheard in rooms where you once hoped your name would be spoken. It's easy in such moments to believe you've been forgotten, not just by people, but by God Himself. But here is the truth. God doesn't forget what He plants. What feels like obscurity is often divine intimacy. The spotlight you long for may not be the soil you need, God hides those He's preparing, not to punish them, but to preserve them. In the hiding place you are protected from forces your spirit is not yet ready to face. It is in that hidden space that He whispers revelations, deepens your roots, and prunes what cannot grow with you into the next season. You are not invisible to heaven. Your name is etched into the palm of God's hand. We often confuse visibility with value, but value is not proven in crowds, it's proven in character. It's proven in what you do when no one claps, in how you remain faithful when no one is watching, in whether your heart still worships when the stage is stripped away. God does not elevate a person He has not first prepared in private. Before David held a crown, he was alone with sheep. Before Joseph wore a royal robe, he wore shackles. Before Jesus revealed His glory, He spent 30 years in the shadows. And now, you stand in that same quiet furnace, where heaven is not ignoring you, it is shaping you. When the world silences you, lean in to the voice that still speaks. Your prayers are not echoes lost in the void. They are incense rising to the throne room. Your tears are not wasted, they are seeds. God has a divine calendar, and no man can speed up or delay the date He's marked for your revealing. Do not rush the process, for what is rushed is often ruined, but what is cultivated in God's timing will last, will flourish, and will shake the very ground it stands on. So if you feel tucked away, hidden beneath layers of pain, confusion, or delay, know this: God has not forgotten you. In fact, He is closer than ever. He hides what is holy. He guards what carries greatness. And when the moment is right, no man, no betrayal, no history of rejection will be able to stop what He brings forth. You are not buried. You are planted, and the bloom will come in its time. Betrayal is a deep wound, not just because of the pain it causes, but because of who delivers it. It's not the enemy from a distance that breaks you. It's the friend who knew your heart, the one you prayed for, the one you trusted with your secrets, the one you let into the softest places of your soul. That kind of betrayal doesn't just hurt, it shifts your world. But here's the holy truth few talk about. Betrayal often becomes the bridge to purpose. God doesn't need loyalty from people to accomplish His will for you. In fact, He often uses disloyalty to disconnect you from what would have destroyed you in the long run. You might think you needed their support, their love, their affirmation, but God knew better. He saw what was hidden behind the smiles. He heard the conversations when you weren't in the room. He saw the jealousy clothed as concern, and so, in His mercy, He allowed the betrayal, not to punish you, but to protect the future He designed for you. What if the betrayal was an answer to a prayer you never knew how to pray? What if, in your cry for destiny, God answered with disconnection? You see, had they not walked away, you would have built your foundation on sand. Had they not exposed their intentions, you would have continued to shrink yourself to keep them comfortable. So God let them leave. He let them wound. Not because He delights in your pain, but because He delights in your future. Joseph's brothers thought they were discarding him into a pit. What they were actually doing was delivering him into destiny. Had they not betrayed him, Egypt would never have known his name. And had you not been betrayed, you would still be stuck trying to please those who never saw your worth. Betrayal clears the room. It shows you who cannot come with you. It sharpens your vision and strengthens your reliance on God. So don't curse the ones who broke your heart. Don't beg them to return. Let their departure become your permission to rise. Let their betrayal become your altar of transformation, because while they were plotting your burial, God was orchestrating your bloom. The betrayal didn't end you, It rerouted you. And now you're headed toward a promise that no human hand can sabotage. Pain is never pleasant. It disrupts your rhythm, dismantles your peace, and seems to mock your prayers. Yet, in the mysterious workings of God, pain is often the very tool He uses to refine greatness. We often cry out for God to use us, to elevate us, to give us purpose, but we rarely ask for the pain that precedes it. And yet, every powerful soul in Scripture was first crushed before they carried glory. There's a sacred process in pain that no shortcut can replicate. Pain teaches you what comfort never could. It reveals what's real, what's shallow, what you truly believe when everything else is stripped away. It exposes idols and surfaces hidden strength. It teaches you the language of empathy, the value of silence, the wisdom of timing. It makes your spirit sensitive to the hurting and your words full of life. You cannot carry healing if you haven't first known what it's like to bleed. You weren't meant to walk through this fire and come out empty. That pain you've carried, the sleepless nights, the silent prayers, the aching questions, none of it is wasted. God is the only one who can take the ashes of your suffering and press them into the oil of anointing. He is not merely watching your pain, He is working in it. Behind the scenes, in places you cannot see, He is preparing a weight of power your heart would not be able to carry without first being broken open. Think of how diamonds form: pressure, heat, time. The same earth that tries to crush you is the ground where your brilliance will be born. That pain you feel is proof that something sacred is forming within you. It's not the end of your story, it's the process of your becoming. Pain is the wilderness before the promised land, the crushing before the crowning, the silence before the trumpet sounds. When you finally rise, and you will, it won't just be with survival. You'll rise with substance. You'll rise with a voice that doesn't just echo, but transforms. You'll rise with compassion carved into your soul and wisdom etched into your eyes. The people who thought your pain would break you will have no explanation for how it built you. God is not punishing you. He is preparing you. You were never meant to stay buried in sorrow. You are meant to bloom from it. This pain is temporary, but the strength it's forging in you will last a lifetime. So walk through this season not as a victim of pain, but as a student of divine preparation. Something holy is being built through the very thing that once made you weep. There is a stage in every process where the most important work is done beneath the surface. Long before a tree pierces the earth with its first green shoot, its roots are being stretched deep and wide, anchoring it into a place of hidden stability. No one claps for the roots. No one celebrates what they cannot see. But without them, the tree would never stand. This is the season you find yourself in now, silent, hidden, seemingly stagnant. You've prayed, you've waited, you've obeyed, and yet nothing around you looks like it's moving. But oh, if only you could see beneath the soil. Heaven is not standing still. God is stretching your roots. In the silence, your faith is growing stronger. In the quiet, your identity is being secured. Every moment you choose not to give up, not to retaliate, not to lose your hope, that is a root going deeper. Every time you trust when nothing makes sense, that is strength building inside you. You are not still, you are not stuck. You are being fortified in a way that no storm will be able to uproot. Roots aren't glamorous. No one posts about them. No one throws celebrations for underground development. But those who endure the root season are the ones who don't fall when the wind comes. This is God's mercy. If He allowed you to bloom before you were rooted, your success would crush you. He knows what's ahead, so He hides you now, So he thickens the core of your soul before you ever stand in the spotlight. Your growth in this season may not feel visible, but it is vital. Do not despise the silence. It's sacred. It's in this stillness that God is shaping your capacity. What He's building in you doesn't need to be seen by others right now. It just needs to be surrendered to Him. Eventually, the moment will come when the shoot breaks through the surface and the world will see what God has been nurturing in the dark. They will see the fruit, but you will know the roots. And you will smile because you'll remember, while others thought nothing was happening, God was growing you in secret. In seasons of pain, loss, and betrayal, something deeper than circumstances often begins to unravel. Your very sense of identity. The person you thought you were, the one defined by relationships, roles, or approval, starts to slip away. You begin to wonder who you are without the people who left, without the position you lost, without the validation you used to lean on. But what feels like the breaking of identity is actually the beginning of its divine rebuilding. God is not interested in maintaining a version of you built by wounded expectations or shaped by the hands of people who never saw your worth. When He allows you to be buried, He is not discarding who you are. He is dismantling everything that was never truly you. The applause, the masks, the survival tactics, these are stripped away, not to leave you empty, but to bring you back to the original blueprint He designed before you ever took your first breath. There are moments when God must isolate in order to reintroduce. He removes the noise, the distractions, the illusions that have whispered false narratives over your life. In that stillness, in that wilderness, He begins to write a truer story, one not anchored in trauma, but in truth. You begin to discover a strength that was never drawn from others. You begin to hear the voice of God louder than the opinions of people, and slowly, like morning light after a long night, you start to see yourself as He sees you. You are not what happened to you. You are not the betrayal. You are not the mistake. You are not the abandoned one, the forgotten one, the used one. You are chosen. You are redeemed. You are being rebuilt, stone by stone, truth by truth, into a temple where God's glory will dwell. And this time, the foundation is not fragile. This time, your worth won't be up for debate. This time, your identity will not be shaped by performance or popularity, but by purpose. Consider Moses. Before he could lead a nation, he had to unlearn the identity handed to him in Pharaoh's palace. God took him to the wilderness, not to punish him, but to remind him of who he truly was. In the same way, you are walking through your own wilderness, and it is here, not in success, not in applause, but here in the dust and the silence, that God is revealing who you really are. And once you know who you are, truly know, no one will ever be able to bury you again. Because you won't rise with just confidence, you'll rise with clarity. And clarity cannot be stolen. Your identity is not being buried, it's being reborn. There is something deeply painful about being mocked in the middle of your process. When people walk away and assume it's over for you, when they laugh at your struggle, dismiss your pain, or gossip about your downfall, it adds insult to injury. It's not just the loss that hurts, it's the way they celebrated your fall, as if it was final, as if they had the authority to call time on a story God is still writing. But those who laugh early do not see the full picture. They don't understand that God often allows silence before He releases justice. He is never in a hurry, but He is always precise. What they mocked in you, God will magnify for His glory. What they used to shame you, God will use to shift the atmosphere. They thought they were laughing at your end, but they were laughing in the middle of a resurrection. It's a dangerous thing to celebrate the pain of someone God has chosen, because God is not blind to cruelty. He sees the smirks, the whispers, the people who danced on your name while you were still on your knees. And while you were busy surviving, God was busy collecting every tear, every insult, every injustice. His justice may not be immediate, but it is inevitable. And when he moves, it is undeniable. In the story of Hannah, her rival Peninnah mocked her barrenness year after year. But when God remembered Hannah and gave her a child, the same womb that was mocked became the birthplace of a prophet. Those who laugh too soon always miscalculate the ways of God. They forget that God often hides his glory in the least expected places. They forget that the same Jesus they mocked on Friday rose in glory on Sunday. He endlessly mocks them on the Sunday. So, if they laughed, let them. If they walked away, bless them. Because when God vindicates, he does so without your hands getting dirty. You won't have to argue, explain, or prove yourself. God will raise you up in such a way that even your enemies will be forced to watch. He sets a table not in private, but in the presence of those who tried to bury you. Their laughter will echo back to them with shame when they see what God brings out of your brokenness. Because God is not done. He's just getting started. And those who laugh at seeds buried in the soil often forget those seeds were never dead. They were preparing to bloom. There is a quiet beauty in divine irony, the way God flips the script, reverses the ridicule, and resurrects stories others tried to seal shut. When people buried you, they did so with finality. They didn't whisper possibilities over your pain. They whispered conclusions. They didn't imagine your return. They predicted your ruin. They saw you in the dirt and assumed the dust would claim you. They did not account for the God who breathes life into the lifeless and commands flowers to break through concrete. They saw your silence and called it defeat. They saw your loneliness and called it abandonment. They saw your obscurity and labeled it failure. But what they didn't realize was that God never plants a seed he doesn't intend to bloom. And the deeper the seed is buried, the more magnificent the harvest it's preparing for. When God brings a person into bloom, it's never subtle. He doesn't just lift you up slightly to prove a point. He exalts you in places that were once soaked in your tears. He elevates you not out of arrogance, but as a display of his justice. He makes the broken whole, the forgotten found, the buried rise, not for spectacle, but for testimony. And this rising, it won't look like vengeance. It will look like grace. It will look like wisdom glowing on your face and peace in your eyes. It will be the authority in your voice when you speak, not from a place of bitterness, but from depth and healing. It will be the strength of someone who has been through fire and has come out refined, not burned. It will be the soft glow of someone who doesn't need applause to feel worthy, who doesn't need revenge to feel validated. You'll rise with quiet power, and the silence of your former pain will echo louder than any scream. You see, people expected you to stay down. They banked on your ruin, but your rise will disorient them, because it won't be fueled by anger but by peace. It won't be a shout but a song. It won't look like revenge. It will look like restoration. And restoration has a sound all its own. It's the sound of prayers answered in whispers, the sound of joy returning to your breath, the sound of a heart healed so thoroughly that it no longer aches when it remembers. The ones who tried to define you by your broken season will be confounded, because God has a way of bringing glory out of the same ground people used to shame you. You will be blessed in the place where you were broken. You'll rise in the town where they dismissed you. The very ground that tried to hold you down will be the stage of your resurrection. They won't be able to explain it, because your rising won't be tied to human help. They'll know it wasn't their favor that lifted you. It wasn't the world's applause that propelled you. It was God. And when God does the blooming, no man can take the credit or stop the growth. Think of Lazarus, dead for 4 days, wrapped in grave clothes. The mourners had gathered, the stone was sealed, hope was lost. But Jesus came, not when they wanted him to, but when the bloom would be undeniable. He called Lazarus by name, and the same man they buried, the same man they grieved, the same man they gave up on, he walked out of the tomb in front of them all. God waited not to hurt them, but to humble them, so that no one could say it was anyone but him. This is what God is doing in your life. He has let the timeline run longer than you expected, not to punish you, but so that when you rise, it is undeniable who brought you out, so that no person, no lie, no betrayal could ever claim your harvest. You will bloom so brightly that those who tried to suffocate your growth will be blinded by what God brings from your ashes. Your rise will not be temporary, it will be sustained. Because it's rooted in soil that has been soaked with faith, refined by patience and tested through fire. You didn't skip steps. You didn't cheat your way up. You stayed in the soil. You stayed buried. You stayed faithful. And now you are growing into something they never saw coming. They thought your story ended in the soil. But what they didn't realize is that resurrection is God's speciality. He has always worked with things that look dead. That's where his glory shines the brightest. So, let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them wrestle with how the one they buried now stands tall, blooms wild and radiates grace. You are not who you were when you were buried. You are more. You are blooming, not because you fought your way out, but because God called you out. And now, beloved, you see the truth with clearer eyes. What felt like the end was the beginning. What looked like death was divine incubation. What they meant for harm, God used for holy transformation. They tried to bury you, perhaps with their words, their silence, their betrayal or their absence, but God was never burying you. He was planting you. He took every grain of rejection and watered it with grace. He took every ounce of pain and pressed it into purpose. He took your silence and filled it with sacred whispers of destiny. And when the time was right, not rushed, not delayed, he began to bloom something out of you so beautiful, so unexpected, that even the dirt couldn't keep it covered. You were never forgotten. You were never forsaken. You were being formed. And now your life will be a living testament that divine planting always leads to divine rising. Your roots are deep. Your bloom is coming. And when it does, the world will know it was the hand of God all along. So bloom, even if the ground still holds memory of your tears. Bloom, even if they still whisper doubts. Bloom where they buried you, because they didn't know. God was never done with you. He was just getting started.